Dr. Stone again. So now we're going to talk about the people in history that had ideas about things that at the time were considered to be blasphemy, heresy, or, you know, the talk of a witch, and were killed for it. Okay, so but now we know that these things were absolutely true and that they were right. Okay, so it doesn't really help the fact that they got murdered in horrible ways, but at least we are giving credit where credit is due. Up first, we have Giordano Bruno. He lived from 1548 to 1600. He was an Italian philosopher, and he proposed the idea that the universe was infinite. And he also agreed with Copernicus and said that he believed that the Earth was not the center of our galaxy. It was the sun, and that we revolved around the sun. And oh my gosh, that went against the teachings of the early Catholic Church. And so he was burned at the stake in 1600 for that. What we know now is that he was absolutely right. So there's that. Michael Servetus, a physician from Spain, and he was from 1511 to 1553, I think. Yeah, I believe that's right. Anyhow, he made discoveries about the pulmonary system in the body, pulmonary circulation. He was saying that the blood flowed from the heart to the lungs and back. And he also was rejecting the mainstream Christian doctrine, the Trinity. You know, he didn't believe that that was a thing. So he was labeled a heretic. What happened to him? He was condemned for heresy. Again, and the Catholic Church and Protestant reformers, like John Calvin, sentenced him to death. Okay. He also was burned at the stake in 1553. You know, but what do we know? We know he was right. Well, we know he was right about the science stuff, the medicine stuff. We're not going to argue the Trinity thing here. That's not what I'm trying to do. Then we have Hypatia of Alexandria, a woman who rejected the, Christian doctrine and said that she believed in science and math and reason and logic. And so she was murdered by a Christian mob of people. They just killed her. And she was a very intelligent woman back then, and she was killed for her beliefs. They said she was a pagan and a heathen. So, she was merely following the teachings of people like Plato and Aristotle. But she met her early demise at the hands of Christians. Galileo, he wasn't killed, but he was persecuted by the church, and he was put on house arrest in the years before he died by the church to keep him under their thumb. Okay, so he's had all this stuff about the moons and the moon's surface and the moons of Jupiter and the phases of Venus, and he was also a proponent of the idea that we revolve around the sun and not the other way around, which again contradicts the early teachings of the church. So, he was smart. He was able to get out of it. He was able to, pull some strings and not be murdered, but he was very close. Margaret Jones was executed in 1648. Who was Margaret Jones? Margaret Jones was a midwife and an herbal healer. She came under scrutiny because her patients were healing fast. And, she was effective in her medicine. So she was a witch. Yep, she sure was. And she was killed by hanging in Salem. So, we know now that the stuff she was using has actual medicinal value. Go figure. But poor Margaret Jones, R.I.P. And last we have Girolamo Savonarola. I probably said that totally wrong, but 1452 to 1498. So he was not a scientist, but he saw the corruption going on in the Catholic Church and was like, oh, hell no. And he called it out, and for that, he paid the ultimate price. Okay. But later, people like Martin Luther came along and said the exact same thing, and some change occurred, right? Not enough, but at least some. So anyhow, these are people that had ideas, had insight somehow, however they got it. I have no idea. I just know it wasn't the devil, okay? So these people were before their time thinkers. They were intelligent, educated, and they had ideas, and they said them, and for that, they were killed. So again, back then, the things that these people were saying were considered to be, oh my gosh, what the hell? Like, oh, so scary and bad, you know? So to my point about things that we don't quite fully understand yet, it's like the society we're in now just absolutely, just blatantly, like, refuses to believe that anything is possible outside of the things that we already know are possible. And that, to me, shows a absolute closed-mindedness and ridiculously backwards way of thinking. Because if you want to sit here and tell me that with all the things that we know are possible, that nothing else is, your education has failed you. And your life experience has failed you too. So, you know, keep an open mind. I'm not saying to believe everything. Don't be gullible, okay? But, you know, don't be dismissive either of everything just because it's something that you don't understand, you know? I'm just saying, I think it's important that we keep our minds open to the possibilities that there's more out there than we know about. And if you are religious and you believe that there's a man in the sky watching you and counting every one of your sins, how the hell can you not believe that there's psychic ability out there or ghosts or whatever? That just, like, that's insane to me. Like, you're crazy at that point. Like, those things are so contradictory. And if you don't understand it, I doubt you ever will. But, you know, and go about your life in your blessed ignorance. That's fantastic for you, okay? But stop hating on people that are trying to find out about these other things, you know? Because that's how progress works. We have people that are willing to put themselves out there and to take the heat, even their lives at times, okay? So that you can live in the world you live in now. So don't forget that right now, at some point, we will be considered the Middle Ages, right? So, you know, just something to think about, all right? All right, Dr. Stone out.